Normal lamps are expensive and boring. So I decided to 3D print a lamp. And the best thing about 3D printing is that you don't have to follow the normal rules. If I'm going to 3D print a lamp, I don't want it to be like every other lamp out there. I want to make an epic treehouse lamp for my kids. And I'm giving away the STL for free, so you can make one too. None of that went how I expected. Hey, what's up? My name's Chris. If you're new to my channel, I'm a husband, a father of twin 4-year-olds, a dog dad with a full-time job who thought it was the perfect time to pick up content creating and 3D printing. Life's busy, and our bedtime routine doesn't end without a nightlight being turned on. But my kids won't settle for a boring nightlight, especially after I bought this fun astronaut that shoots lasers with lots of colors. Sounds great on paper, looks awesome on Amazon, until you realize that it lights up a room like a search helicopter. I want something better. Something fun, whimsical, calming, and I don't want it to cost $100. I learned a lot during this build, way more than I expected, so I'm going to share 3 things I learned and 3 things I'll be doing differently next time I'm designing a lamp. Before we jump into the build, if you like epic 3D prints and miniature worlds, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I've got a lot more planned. And if you like this video, throw it a like. It really helps. Alright, let's make a lamp. First thing was to figure out the design, and I've been wanting to replace the lamp in my kids' room for a while, but I couldn't settle on what exactly I wanted. If you watched my terrarium video, you might remember a cool idea for a miniature terrarium with a waterfall and fog, which I will still make if that video gets 1,000 likes. But anyways, it really stuck with me, and it made me think of a treehouse, and suddenly everything clicked. A treehouse lamp. It's fun, it's whimsical, it's cool, and no lasers. Then I had to figure out how to make it a lamp. You know, that really annoying part. First I thought I could have lights coming out of the windows, but that didn't seem like it would be bright enough. Next thing was that I could light up the leaves, but that's not very realistic and sounds like a nightmare. Then I had a great idea. What if it was nighttime and the moon was illuminated over the treehouse? So I got to work on printing. So now we have all of our 3D printed parts, with some assembly required. Might not be quite as easy as buying something off of Amazon, but pretty sure it's going to be way cooler. My kids hopefully will love it, and hopefully it will work. Now, if you've seen my other videos before, you know this is my favorite part, where I haven't tried putting this together yet, and we're going to see if it works together. Okay. Well, we had to super glue things together anyway, so cross your fingers for me. First thing I'm going to do is start by putting together all of the, well, let's move a couple of things out of the way. I'm going to start by putting together all of the leaves so they have some time to dry. Although I'm sure this undoubtedly means I'm going to end up with super glue all over my fingers. All right, one down, what feels like a lot to go. All right, so here we have all of our leaves together. We'll let them sit and dry for a little bit so that they'll be good to go. Have some supports to remove here. I feel like this would be a great ASMR. Is this satisfying? All right. Next thing we're gonna tackle is with these lights. They're just from Amazon. I'll link them in the description below. I am just going to remove these little metal pieces because we don't need those. Now, the fun part. I did design this so that it would not fit with the light bulbs because I didn't want them to accidentally fall through. You're making progress. You guys don't understand. It is so close. Right there. Whoops. Okay, so maybe the PLA wasn't quite as tough as I was hoping. But this should give us the opportunity to push it through this last little bit. I think my downfall was the cord. Yep. Okay. Well, we had to super glue things together anyway, so there we have it. And here we finally have it, a 3D printed treehouse nightlight. This did not go as I expected it to. I definitely have to change the format of this video because initially it was, you can download this STL and do it yourself. No, don't try to do it yourself. I'll make the STL available probably. And you could tweak it and it would probably work better. And it's cool, but this is not as beginner friendly as I was hoping. And that's okay, because this entire thing is a learning experience. And I learned a lot throughout this entire build. My first tip is that filament choice really matters. When I was prototyping, I used an inexpensive filament, and that was fine. And that's a great tip for prototyping, is don't use your most expensive filament. But whenever I loaded that in and was doing the final print, which was a 24-hour print, there were just some issues with the consistency in the diameter, and the AMS just was not continuously picking it up. And the worst part is that I set it to start overnight, and about an hour into an overnight print, it wasn't able to pick up the filament and it just paused. So I lost about 7 hours of print time. So whenever I printed it the second time, I went with a more consistent known filament that I trust and had much better results. The second thing that I'll share is make sure that you think about how this goes together. So whenever I printed this, I realized when we got to about here that I didn't design it so that the top would be removable. And so I had no way of getting a light bulb inside of here other than to add it mid-print. And that's what I did. I added the light bulb mid-print, and I was just hoping that I was going to be able to connect it. I never even got that far because I realized that I couldn't, in the initial print, get the wiring up through. So whenever I did it the second time, or third or fourth or fifth, I designed it to have the treehouse be a separate piece. The downside to that is that it's not quite as sturdy. That's why I wanted to print this all in one piece, is that it would be sturdy, especially with my kids potentially playing with it. You have your trade-offs. My third tip, don't go all in on combining the mesh until you know that it works. Save multiple versions instead of just saving over top of the same file. Because what happened is that I booleaned out a bunch of different things, and whenever I needed to remove the house from the actual object itself, it was a pain to try to do that. And I had two options. I could either start from scratch, or I could spend hours fixing the mesh. I opted to spend hours fixing the mesh because I was actually out of this color of green filament. So I just sat there and it was very tedious, but I was able to fix it. So lesson learned, save multiple versions. Don't just rely on the fact that you have a finished product that you think is going to work out. So what am I going to do differently next time? A lot. I think that really goes without saying. So the first thing is that I will not choose an entire design around the lighting setup. I went with this because I wanted it to be an easy off-the-shelf lighting that somebody could buy off of Amazon and they could make this themselves. But the problem just became that there were so many things that I was fighting against when I didn't need to. A strip of LEDs would have made this 100 times easier. I wouldn't have had to worry about how thick the branches were whenever I was trying to get a light up and through there. You know, I didn't want people to have to solder or take things apart, and it didn't work out for something like this, something organic. The second thing that I'm going to do differently is think a little bit more about the colors. This is for a kid's room, and you know, I like the way that it looks. I like that it's kind of calm and serene, but it doesn't exactly shout fun. It's not like the astronaut shooting lasers. So whenever designing something, I'm going to make sure that it is going to fit with the color palette that I want, and not just the aesthetic that I want. Two kind of different things. And another tip with that is keep in mind which filament you can get a hold of, because you're never going to get the exact color that you're looking for. So just keep that in mind whenever you're looking for them. The third thing that I'm going to change is that next time I'm going to add letters and numbers to the pieces so that I can keep track of what goes where. Whenever I was designing it, I knew that I would be able to put everything back exactly where it was because I spent hours making it. Wrong. Looking at it from a different angle and in real life makes it a little bit more difficult to figure out where exactly each piece goes. So something as simple as using a Boolean feature to add letters and numbers in the middle of a print, you won't be able to see them, but you'll know where something goes. And a bonus tip is that when you're designing something organic, keep in mind that the little pieces that jut out and come out, although it's easy in something like Blender to put them places, it becomes a little bit more difficult in real life because things don't just move out of the way. You can't just push through it. And now, let's see what it looks like lit up. So I have to say, although there were some hiccups and I had some struggles, I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. Is it perfect? No, definitely not. But I learned so much from it, and I can't wait to put it on display and really kind of see how it looks in the dark, see if my kids like it, see how quickly they break it, because that's definitely going to happen. At the end of the day, this is a learning journey. And I hope that you took something away from it. And it might be something completely different than any of the tips that I shared. Put them in the comments if there's something else that you would change. That way somebody else can learn from it, because we're on this journey together. And I hope that you enjoyed it. If you do want to see more of these types of video, make sure to hit subscribe. I guarantee the next one's going to be a lot easier, a lot more user-friendly. Anybody will be able to do it. But this is just the start of The Print Alchemist.